So I really admire your courage, Tracy, to come and share with the group. Thank you all for being here. It's lovely to see your faces, and I am going to hand over to the lovely Tracy, who's going to take us on a journey for the next 40 or 50 minutes.
Okay, right. So I'll just share my screen and we'll do this from the beginning. Can everybody see my starter slide? Have we got a thumbs up? Are we okay? And
Okay,
can you hear me properly?
loud and clear.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So this is Experience Subtle Energies. This is basically I start off about my journey into going onto sacred sites, and then eventually I got onto into dowsing. I did a house healing course with Tim Walter a year ago. So I'm a little bit late to the party, I suppose, with the dowsing. But over the years, I've been part of some ceremonies and some experiences on sacred sites in England, up and down the country. And over the years, I've captured what could be portals or energy formations. And somebody said to me, you know, you should share this with the group. And so that's why I'm here today. So as part of my presentation, I will just briefly discuss energy and theories and background, and so how I perceive that we can do distance healing over could be other countries, other counties, etc. So just a little bit of the theories and background of how I feel that we are able to do that. A bit about my journey and experience of energy. And then we get on to the more interesting stuff, which is the images that I've got of some energy portals and sacred sites. Discussion of some of the experiences that I've had with elementals and tree spirits. Some of this may stretch and challenge some people's views. I hope everybody's quite open to that. As house healers, we do work with elementals and tree spirits, but I do get quite a bit of pushback sometimes when I talk about these experiences, because not everybody can believe in fairies and things and elementals, etc. So feel free to ask any questions as I go along. I'm quite happy for you to ask anything, stop me if necessary, and there'll be opportunity at the end to feedback. So this is, the first slide is essence of energy. So what do we mean by energy? Well, when scientists split the atom, they found out that 99% of what was there was empty space. And the Science Museum in London calculated that if you took this space out of every human being on the planet, what was left would fit basically into a sugar cube. Would it be a large sugar cube? I don't know. My son said that there was another theory that it would be a marble, because marbles come in different shapes and sizes. So, despite the emptiness, objects appear solid because the electrons and nuclei are tightly bound together by electromagnetic forces, preventing them from passing through one another. So we see that most of everything that we see is made up of nothing. So although science says we cannot pass through walls, etc., could this explain how people with advanced practitioners with advanced skills, spiritual masters, yogis, seem to manipulate energy and do remarkable things, including disappearing, reappearing, levitating, and other things that defies laws of physics? So the emptiness of space is an ancient concept. Could this be how we are able to manipulate energy with the power of thought, such as sending distance healing? We do a lot of distance healing with our house healing work. Like I say, we can do it over in different countries, different counties, over great distances. So this is how I feel we manipulate energy over distance as healers, and we have our own set of abilities so that we can heal remotely. Okay, so at the end, I've got a reference slide right at the end, and I've included 2 videos of monks who display superhuman powers. I won't be playing them as part of the presentation. They're just for anybody who wants to have a look at them if they want to do. And are these evidence of energy manipulation? So they have superpowers such as clairvoyance and telepathy and levitation and superhuman healing powers. Now, I'm not saying that we could ever be that, because they spend time alone developing these skills, but we all have great power and potential within ourselves to heal others and to make a difference to people's lives. And so I'm a big believer that we can really tap into that power. So, and this is just a little bit of the holographic universe theory, which is, I went down a rabbit hole with this, and I've kept it, I'm keeping it very, very simple because it's really complex. But basically, it's just the theory that proposes our universe could be a hologram and that other universes exist on a higher dimensional surface. And this links to string theory, but it isn't proven, it's just a theory. And this is sort of like how I sort of like perceive the universe, how we perceive things. So ancient philosophers have explored these ideas through their writings and teachings in the past. And they have alluded to the ideas that the universe and the world we live in may not be as it seems. So having had personal experiences with angels, elementals and spirits, I believe that they exist on other dimensions that vibrate on a higher or different frequency. So this is how I perceive. So when I've had these experiences with angels or with elementals and tree spirits, I perceive them as existing on a higher or a different frequency. So for me, the universe is like an onion with different layers existing in the same space. And some sensitives, i.e. us, can see, feel and interact with these different levels of being. So, and these are just a couple of little things about what the holographic universe could be. And it questions the nature of our very existence. So my experiences, so over the years, I've been lucky enough to visit spiritual and sacred places. Sorry, I'm just going to move this because I've got the, oh no, oh, sorry, it's just in the way of the text. So what I think of energy formations and messages from higher dimensions. So I managed to capture images of energy formations, what I feel from different dimensions. And I've also had direct experience, although I am with elementals, although I haven't captured any images of them. These captures that I've made may give clues to the existence of energy and of energetic beings residing on alternative planes of existence. So this presentation will discuss some of the experiences that I've had, but also towards the end, I will share some images of what I believe to be formations I've taken over the years. And to give some context, I'll share how I got into the concept of energy working, healing and meditation. We'll go. Oh. Can you still see me, by the way? Because I've lost my my thing.
Yeah, we can still see
Yeah,
you.
so sorry. Yeah, I've lost everybody, so I can't see anybody now. So I'll just carry on as I am. So connecting the dots. So when I started on this journey started really through martial arts. And when I started martial arts in 1993, I had very little confidence. I was very anxious. I'd had a very poor upbringing, and martial arts to me really developed my confidence and really took me out of my comfort zone. So, and when I was doing the kickboxing, I started off doing Muay Thai in 1993 at the age of 24. And I lost my temper having a sparring match with one of the champion fighters, and he punched me on the nose and I lost my temper. And he had a conversation with me afterwards, and he suggested to me that when I lost my temper, I should channel my energy through to the ends of my fists. So this one conversation really set me on my journey with working with energy. And I started exploring things such as spirituality and meditation and Buddhism and so on, and then to healing, and then subsequently to dowsing. So I did Muay Thai when I was in my 20s, and I did karate in my 30s towards my 40s. Unfortunately, back in these days, we didn't really take many pictures, so there's no pictures of me or of any of the people that I trained with. But it was a good experience in my life, and like I say, it sort of like set me off into my healing journey. So from that, I went into meditation, and this is the Manjushri Centre up in Ulverston and the Morecambe Bay estuary. So for context, for those that don't know, I'm up in the northwest part of England. I'm just outside of Manchester. So Ulverston and Morecambe are up in the Lake District. So the Lake District is about an hour's drive away from where I am now. So I went to the Manjushri Centre, and also they did outreach and take meditation out into the community. And I studied meditation classes with the various groups that they sent out. And the leader is Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche, who passed away in 2022. He was born in 1932 and passed away in 2022. Now, the interesting thing about Geshe Kelsang is although I never met him in person, he actually came to me in a dream. And I was a little bit, and it was a bizarre dream. And I actually thought, and I'm not being rude here or disrespectful, but I actually thought it was like a little alien. But then when I saw his pictures, and I went to the Manjushri Centre and saw his pictures, I realised it was the same man that came to me in my dream. And Geshe Kelsang also had the same teachers as the Dalai Lama. So it was a great privilege to have somebody like that in this country, and so near as well. And it was a great privilege to go to the Manjushri Centre. And for anybody that's in northwest England or anywhere that lives in the nearby, Manjushri Centre is an absolutely beautiful place to go to, and it's absolutely wonderful. Sorry, I'm just going to have a drink. So that was the start of my journey into meditation, and meditation became a part of my life. Healed a lot of the emotions that I had, and made me into a better person. And I meditate daily, and I credit meditation as being the catalyst for some of the healing journeys that I've had. So, and this takes me also to the Chan Cheng Dao Temple, which is in Walton, Manchester. About 12 years ago, I was blessed into the Dao, which is the IHHN Dao, which is a mixture of Confucianism, Taoism, and of Buddhism as well. And this is some of the pictures that I've taken inside. It's an absolutely beautiful temple. This Buddha here is, I believe it was 4 to 5 ton of one single block of jade. And this is the Kuan Yin. And this guy over here, whose name escapes me, I can't remember, I don't think I wrote him down on my notes. He was an alcoholic and a meat eater. So I quite like him because he's a sort of like, you know, like it gives us hope that we can get rid of our bad habits and become better people. So in 2000, I had my first spiritual awakening after a deep depression, and that was what's classed as Saturn return. For anybody that doesn't know a Saturn return, it happens around the age of 27 to 30. I had a failing business, I had deep debts, I had depression, my whole life totally broke down. But this is what consistently with a lot of people, this is what happens when they go through a spiritual awakening. Everything breaks down beforehand. So I used meditation at this point in my life and positive thinking to turn my life around. Got very much into the law of attraction as well. And I trained in holistic therapies. This is a picture of me doing Reiki. I trained in Reiki in the around about 2010 onwards. But initially, before then, I became a spiritual healer with the National Federation of Spiritualist Healers, which is also known as the Healing Trust here in the UK. So I began implying what I learnt in martial arts, as in channeling energy, and really began connecting with it. But then I went off to do formal qualifications, a degree and a teaching degree, and then working in education, and did 3D stuff for a few years until about 2010-11 when I had my second spiritual awakening. So for years I've wanted to have great teachers. And it's like the old saying, this is a Lao Tzu saying, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Well, for me, this was two people. First of all, it was Julie, who taught me mediumship classes. She had a wonderful little cafe in my hometown of Horwich, and I learnt to do mediumship with her. She's an amazing teacher. I'm still in touch with Julie, but she's not such a prominent medium anymore. And she put me in touch with Yvonne, who this is in the middle. These two pictures were taken in the Dao Temple as well. And through Yvonne, I learnt Reiki. Yvonne's quite, in inverted brackets, famous in this area for what she does. And she developed her own type of Reiki, which is angelic Usui Reiki, because she said you can't have angelic Reiki without Usui. And so she's had quite a bit of a kickback from the spiritual community, but the work that she does is utterly amazing. And then my third teacher came along, and this is Reiki Ray Goldie. And he taught Yvonne as well as me, and he also is famous in inverted brackets in this area for what he does, and he taught me Reiki and Sakine. So I've learned two types. So I've got two Reiki teachers, and I've learned two types of Reiki. And they're very, very important people in my life that took me on the journey that I was on. So, and it was after this point, in about 2010, that events really started to unfold. So now we start to get to some of the places that I've been to. So this is Morecambe Winter Gardens. So Morecambe Winter Gardens was my first ghost hunt. I've only done a couple of ghost hunts. They're not really my thing. I don't particularly like them, but Morecambe was a very special one. So Morecambe Winter Gardens is a Grade 2 listed building in the seaside town of Morecambe in Lancashire, Victorian seaside town, typical of the British seaside resorts. And it opened as a theatre in 1897 and shut in 1977, and was under restoration when we visited. So the ghost hunts there were organised to raise money for a restoration project. So they're basically trying to restore it. So the picture below shows some, some how they've restored it to some of its former glory. But when we were there, it was in quite a sorry state. So for those of you that know Most Haunted in the UK, Yvette Fielding and the gang from Most Haunted did an investigation in Winter Gardens. And unlike Yvette Fielding, there was no hysterical screaming. If ever you watch it, she runs around screaming everywhere. But there were a number of stairwells in the building that are said to be haunted, in particular the stairwell that connects down to the large basement area and also up to the circle of the auditorium. And one staircase in particular is subject to a story of a possible murder and haunting. And it is said that after the spirit of a woman, the spirit of a woman who fell to her death after a rout lingers on the stairs. So I captured a picture with an orb, which will be coming up on the next slide. And I've also got some other pictures with that. So at the time that this happened, people overheard raised voices and then the scream. And her husband said she fell, but she was killed? And was there a murder at Morecambe Winter Gardens? So there was a lot of activity there. So these pictures are pictures that we took while we were there, and this is the picture of the orb, and this is a stairwell, allegedly, where the lady died. So this was like one of the first pictures that I ever captured with an orb. Now, skeptics do say, oh, well, it's just dust on the lens, etc. But I think there's more to that. Usually, I can see orbs usually with my own naked eye. And orbs to me represents the pre-formation of spirit. While we were there, we captured a lot of orbs. And this is me and me unfortunate husband, who I drag everywhere with me on some of these adventures. Bless him. So he comes and tags along. So we were doing a Ouija board in that particular picture. Now, knowing what I didn't know then, Ouija boards isn't something that I recommend people to do unless you really, really know what you're doing. But on that particular occasion, I joined in with everything. We did things like table tip, we did Victorian table tipping, which was amazing. We got the table to raise up with our energies and dance around. We did the Ouija board, but the Ouija board itself didn't produce any results, which I was quite glad about at the time. And it was a very, very interesting place. We also had things manifest out of nowhere and be thrown at us. We were up in the auditorium and I actually shouted out, if you're here, show yourself, and orbs would just appear, coloured orbs. So we were up in the auditorium and a red orb appeared and a blue orb appeared, and they moved their way up the stairs as if they had an intelligence behind them. In fact, this top picture here is looking down into the auditorium. And this is down in the basement. This is down in the basement as well. And also a spirit passed through me, which was a very, very bizarre experience. So at this particular time, I was trying really to understand how could this be, because I was very much like, how can this be? How could things be thrown at us? How could things appear? What are these orbs, etc. So it really sort of like set me on my path. And that's a close-up of the orb on the stairwell, which is roughly sort of like a small person height. So, and then we did an outdoor ghost hunt in Rivington. Rivington is the countryside near where I live in the northwest of England. And this is what we believe we took at the time of a formation of a spirit. There was no mist that evening. It was a completely clear evening. It was summertime. It was in July. You could argue that it was due to moisture rising from the ground. But we did believe that was pretty good capture for us at the time, because we thought, well, maybe it was spirit forming. When we did this ghost hunt, we connected with many spirits, including a wandering monk, a robber, and a lady who lost her love, and fairies. And this is where the fairy story comes in. So I've actually done these through AI. Quite beautiful, actually. So in the early hours of the morning, a member of our group captured many orbs with faces in. So a little bit like the orb that I captured on the stairwell. But when she zoomed in on a camera, they actually had faces in them. But astonishingly, she also captured, she took a picture of a tree, she zoomed in, and there at the base of the tree were three little people that looked like little tiny people, a female appearance in the base of the tree. And at that point, I didn't believe in anything like that. How could it be? And I was in utter disbelief and couldn't believe my eyes. And I absolutely did not believe in fairies, period. The image was printed in a psychic magazine, but has been unavailable since. And I do think that it's the correct thing to do, because that particular picture will, if it was picked up by the media, it would cause a sensation. And I know people really struggle to think that we captured something like that on a picture, but I saw it with my own eyes, and I was a disbeliever at that particular time. I haven't been in touch with Jackie, who has the picture, because I think it's the right thing to do. It's a story that I can share, but it's not the right thing to share that picture, I don't think. And the psychic magazine that it was printed in has since trading as well. So this was an experience that I had a few years later of a green man. So my father has built, he's passed away now actually, but my father built an upside down house. So the bedrooms were up and the downstairs, and the living area and the kitchen were on the upstairs. And it was by the side of the canal, overlooking the countryside. And one day I was looking out of the window at my father's house, and all I was doing was just glancing at a tree. Wasn't particularly thinking of anything, wasn't particularly connecting with anything, wasn't doing any spiritual work. I was just stood there having a cup of coffee. And without warning, a face manifested out of the tree. And it was just a green man's face. So I've tried to create it with AI, but the face appeared out the tree, and the leaves came out of the mouth and circled round in a circular motion and back in and round. And when it came out with a noise, as if it was some of these things that manifest for me come with a noise, and it's very difficult to explain. The only nearest thing I've had is I read Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda, where his spiritual guide Babaji manifests, and he comes with a noise. So it's pretty bizarre to explain, but the face popped out, and then it popped back in again. So I went to my dad's. I didn't say anything to anybody because my family don't believe in anything like that. And then a few weeks later, I came back and my dad had cut the tree down because it spoiled his view, basically. So I don't know whether the spirit came out to show itself because maybe it knew that the tree was going to be cut down. I don't know. But since then I've had, so I believe I've never seen a green man since. This is the only time that I've ever seen one. But I do like to go around and take pictures of green men, particularly in cathedrals. And this is a picture of a green man I took in Wakefield Cathedral, which is in Yorkshire. So now we get to the sacred sites and some of the more interesting captures that I've had over the years. So this is Castlerigg Stone Circle, again in Cumbria in the Lake District. So this is a Neolithic stone circle located in the Lake District in Cumbria. I read online that the Lake District may have been an important area for early circle building, and I've missed the L out of building, so please excuse the fact that I've not spelled that right. But Castlerigg has 38 stones in total, thought to have been constructed around 3000 BC. And it was the 11th of the 11th, so it's the 11th day of the 11th month, 2011, at 11:11. And Yvonne, my spiritual teacher in the middle there, brought us all, our group, together to go onto Castlerigg Stone Circle because she had the download that we would go there and we were going to get together and put healing energy into the earth. At that particular time, didn't understand what it meant, and I went along, and that's me in the corner there. But also at that particular time, as coincidence would have, or was it coincidence, Ruth and her group were also on the stone circle. And so I met a lady called Ruth, and I've been to various things with her in subsequent years, and we've had a friendship now for quite some time. And Ruth brought her Mongolian crystal skull, which is calcite 10 pound weight, and it's called Melissa Magdalene. And I've got permission from Ruth to show a picture of the skull. This is a picture that I took. These skulls have missing teeth, which they think may be a code, and there are many of them dotted about the globe. But I'm not going to get into the ethics of having Mongolian skulls. It's people that have them, and there's a lot in America apparently. The people that haven't are quite secretive about them, but they're meant to hold great power. When I actually held this skull in my hands, and it started to take me into trance, and I had to break away from it, and I very respectfully gave it back to Ruth, but it was a fascinating skull. So this picture I took of the group, and I never noticed at the time, posted them online within our little group. What appears to be a skull has appeared above this lady, and I've enlarged it. And this is one of Ruth's group that came with various skulls, and also what appears to be like an angel shape. Now, one could argue that it could be a lens flare, but usually lens flares are very pinpointing green, and it was just very unusual that it appeared in the shape that it did, but the fact that there's a skull shape above this lady's head, we thought was fascinating. So, and then again, so yeah, so in this particular event opened me up to go to other things, which led us on to Stonehenge in 2012. So, and then with this group, I went solely with Ruth and people, members of the groups who have crystal skulls. So Stonehenge is the most famous of the stone circles, and it was approximately 4,500 years built between 4,500 years old, built between 3,300 and 2,500 BC. The most famous Neolithic stone circle, and is situated in Wiltshire in England. So this was a spring equinox gathering. It was a small gathering, but there were people from all over the world. And this was also pre the Experience Centre, which they've since built. So they built a new Experience Centre, filled in an entire road next to the Stonehenge circle, so you can't see it from the road, can't drive past it. They were also on about building a tunnel, so from another road where people go into the tunnel, so nobody could cast their eyes onto Stonehenge. But that's another issue in itself, and it's extremely expensive now. So I'm glad that we did this when we did in 2012. And you can see me there in between the stones and how vast they are. So when I went into the circle, I had a camera and the batteries died. When I went out of the circle, they came back on again, which is another common thing that tends to happen. And I actually took this picture with my phone. And as you can see, it's a purple portal, and it's very zigzaggy, a portal. Maybe it is a portal, that's what we assume it is, but it's very zigzaggy. We were doing like a ceremony. We had the crystal skulls. I'm just going to go back. So we had the crystal skulls arranged, and we were doing a ceremony. This lady here and her husband have done all the South American Inca healing things, but it was a very, very interesting photo that I took, and I never saw it while I was taking the picture. This only came about as I was looking through the pictures afterwards. So we do think it was a portal, and we think our energy work opened up a portal on Stonehenge. And Stonehenge itself actually is quite small. I was very disappointed, not disappointed, but I was disappointed on how small it was when I got on there, but very excited at the same time. So, and then that took me on to West Kennet Long Barrow, which is a chambered long barrow near Avebury, again in Wiltshire. So these places are all in the same county. Stonehenge, West Kennet Long Barrow, Avebury Stone Circle, and Salisbury Hill are all in the same county of Wiltshire. So the date of construction of this was unknown. So human bones were placed within the chamber probably between 3,670 and 3,635 BC. Again, my batteries drained taking these photos. So I managed to take one with my camera. But this was an important spot where I connected with what I would now know as a spirit of place. When I've done my house healing, lots of these things, or lots of the dots have connected. And we did a ceremony in here. So please excuse my drawing, but the guardian of the site came to me again in this corner here. And this was the August blue moon. Again, we had the crystal skulls and the ceremony and a lot of drumming and things like that. But this particular picture I drew on the way home. He travelled with me in the car. because it's about 4 hours drive home. He travelled with me in the car and wouldn't go until I got some sort of drawing of him. And told me he was of high caste, of an ancient people, that he was the guardian of the site. He wore a shale bangle, hair bones in his hair. He had an earring in his left ear, choker. And as I say, he travelled in the car, but he came over very, very powerfully. So that was my first experience with the guardian of a site. So and then this is Avebury Stone Circle. So again, this is another fascinating picture that I took. This was built, so Avebury has been built between 2850 BC and 2200 BC, and is the largest stone circle in Britain. It has a massive henge enclosure, a large stone circle and 2 smaller inner circles, and the village was built inside the circle. So this was a jackdaw that I took at Avebury. My spirit guide told me to take the picture of this jackdaw. The first picture just sat there perfectly normal, and the second picture there was a distortion on the picture. So is it that the energy of the stone circle at Avebury is distorting the image, or is it a shapeshifter? You can decide, but I've had an affinity to Corvids ever since, and to the Morrigan. So the next slide shows in greater detail what happened. My younger son, being a skeptic, said maybe I shifted my camera, but if that was the case, I got the wings absolutely crisp, and there's the beak disappearing, and you can see the stones of Avebury around. And so that takes me up to the next one, this nearly the last one, which is Rivington Church in Lancashire. Again, this is Rivington near me, and these were taken 2 years ago, so these are the most recent. The earliest known record is 1280. It's recorded in about 640 that the land was sold for ecclesiastical purposes, and the church is believed to have pagan origins, but they don't know that. It's not associated with any saint or martyr, which churches usually are, and it has an elevated position with a rounded section. Somebody has suggested to me that this could have had a stone circle, but we will never know. And you can see some of the features. These are not Saxon. There are Saxon features within the church, but these are medieval features that are just dotted around, left out to the elements in the church. So I'd actually done some dowsing here, and because I was starting to get an interest in dowsing and had my dowsing rods. So the first picture, and I couldn't see these until I got home. So the first picture, you could say, yeah, is a light refraction. Okay, but then they started to change. Now, while I was here, I was on my own, and the energy was so much, it was palpable. It felt like there was eyes watching me. Could have been elementals, tree spirits, could have been spirits, I don't know. But these pictures, and then it started to bend. And then I took this one, which I thought was phenomenal. And this is an energy line, I thought, or a possible healing line. I didn't know at the time, but I actually thought I got some sort of energy line or ley line. So a couple of weeks, about a month ago, I did a 150 round trip to a presentation by Adrian, and I've got his permission to share this. And I showed him the picture, and he suggested that it was a healing line, and these healing lines he's discovered just recently. So he says, I found these in Guernsey running through Torterville Parish Church. I've been told by the powers that be to start researching them. and it's been added to a number of questions on my checklist, as in house healing checklist. They are often blocked by detrimental energy lines, etc., running through people's homes. However, once the healing has taken place, it allows beneficial energies to start to flow again for the benefit of the family, pets, etc. I do feel they are man-made, but I've also found them naturally caring, and certainly the ones I found in Guernsey were brought into being during sacred ceremonies, but also much of an offshoot. Now, sacred ceremonies for me really struck a chord. The one I found in Aldborough, which is where we were, went through the churchyard again. This was where the presentation was held, and they are mainly pre-Christian and therefore part of a pagan culture until the Romans, he says, came along and spoiled it. This is interesting, as the church that I was in where I took the pictures is believed to have pagan origins. And so finally, there's just a Freddie Silver quote from his website. Ancient architects created a global network of temples and megaliths to mirror the perfection of the universe. With an unerring knowledge of the mechanics of nature, these magicians built sacred sites to outlast the ravages of time and human folly. They understood the flow of subtle energy located in its hotspots and applied the combination of geomancy, sacred geometry, and earth magic to create living spaces capable of influencing consciousness. Behind every pyramid and stone circle, there exists a symbolic language containing the keys to ancient systems of knowledge, codes of creation, sound, sacred geometry, and how they can be applied to influence the everyday world. They act as intermediaries between the material and the spiritual, and they are portals, the ultimate self-help centres. So in conclusion, although I didn't know what I was doing at the time, I was obviously connecting to the energy of these places. It's only recently that I've been using pendulums as part of my work, and also acquired some dowsing rods from somebody very famous. I always just assumed they were for yes and no answers. I was, however, using a pendulum to find lost things at the age of 11, and I bought a pendulum kit some 25 years ago, so maybe it was a precursor to what I'm doing now, but I've not really got to grips with it until recently. So I feel I'm a bit late to the party in understanding pendulums and dowsing can do for your life and accessing higher understandings and working with energy healing. But then it's all about the journey and not the destination. So that is my presentation, and I hope it was okay for everybody. And if anybody has any questions.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
So there was a reference, I did prematurely eject it. There was a reference section at the back, but when I send the things through, I'm going to do a PDF of it that they're on the back end of the presentation.
Beautiful. I will, or I could just put those when I send the recording link. I could just pick up those two hyperlinks from your slide deck and include them in the email, Tracy.
Yes, if you want to do, that's fine.
Save you doing anything.
Oh, sorry?
I said save you.
Save you doing anything. Yeah, sorry.
Recreate anything. Right.
Okay.
Questions. What questions do you have for Tracy? Joe?
Hi, straight in there. Yeah, I just wanted, I probably said it, but I wondered what sort of camera you normally use.
Oh, for a lot of those photos, I've just used a normal phone camera. So the ones in the churchyard, phone camera. I used to have just a bog standard, I think it was a Nikon camera, nothing expensive, just a cheap one. But I did find, like I said, when I went into Stonehenge, West Kennet Longborough, certain points in Avebury as well, that the batteries would die. And as soon as I went out, they worked perfectly normally, because I was always very much putting full batteries in to take as many pictures as I could. So a lot of those pictures have been taken with a normal phone camera. Okay, is that all right?
Tracy?
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because there's so many options you can actually approach with.
Yeah,
And it's so
yeah,
easy to start the deceased stuff, and you think, well, actually, what maybe people could actually revisit some of their images with
yes,
a
yeah.
different eye.
I mean,
And
there
I
is a
think,
thing. There is a thing they do. They say, oh, lens flares and things like that. So, like the ones that took in the church initially, you could say it's just the lens, the light refract, like splitting into the colours, etc. But I don't have an explanation for that green line at the end.
no, it's
None.
intriguing.
The portal that I captured in Stonehenge, that's not a lens flare. The
I think
skull.
also it'd been, sorry,
Sorry, no, go on.
be really interesting to see normal lens flares next to it, and you get the sort of the things that sort of look like orbs, but they're actually just reflections bubbling around. Because I
Yeah,
think the edges are slightly different. I was just trying to zoom in. It's like they have a sort of an orb anatomy or something. But
an
yeah,
open anatomy. Wonderful.
something like that anyway.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else?
Tracy,
Yes.
um, along the places you said, I'm a druid, but we do rituals every year in Stonehenge at 4 o'clock in the morning with about 100 druids. It's the most amazing place, but it's nothing on Avebury.
No,
It's
absolutely
I
not.
love Avebury.
No, no. I always say to people, because I think it's about £100 now to get onto Stonehenge if you're just visiting and you can't get anywhere near the stones.
Grief.
I've never done a solstice at Stonehenge because of my work, and I've always done everything in Avebury. And Avebury is just the most amazing place. And I always tell people, don't bother with Stonehenge. Go to
Yeah.
Avebury. The other thing about Stonehenge is when I was stood there, it didn't feel right. And then I found out that the stones had been re-erected.
Yep, that's right.
So I was super excited to be stood on Stonehenge, and I was getting into the zone. I was like, oh, hold on a minute, there's something not right here.
Mm. And there's lots of
Yeah,
people buried underneath the stones as well.
yeah,
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 it's like a
apparently
cemetery.
so.
But
Yeah.
Kate Smart, who's giving our talk for Zoom this week, dear friend of mine, and Amy, who's on our course, Amy Murphy, we all slept. We stayed in a house inside the Avebury Stone Circle
Oh,
when we were
wow.
going to when I think it was the very first or the second one of Adrian's events in June, and we didn't sleep a wink, but we did go wandering around the stones in the dark together. It was most amazing. It's a stunning
Oh,
place, absolutely gorgeous. The energy is, and
fabulous.
at night is even better. But you also had West Kennet Longbarrow,
Yes.
which I think is my favourite of all of them. My husband and I went there, and we'd waited ages for all the tourists to go
Yeah.
because you know what it's like, endless tourists, but you can see them because it's quite high up, isn't it?
Mm.
And when we finally got in there, we started to meditate because he's a druid as well,
Yeah.
and we kept hearing this drumming. We thought, oh no, who is this on? And it sounded like it was coming above us. And I was thinking, is there no peace? We just want 10 minutes in here quietly on our own. And so my husband was meditating. I said, I'll go outside and see what it is. Not a soul for miles. I stood on the
No.
top, not a single stop. I went
Oh,
back in. He said it hasn't stopped. And we could hear this drumming in the chamber. There was no one
wow.
around. And
Fabulous.
so I think your friend was doing a bit of solo drumming while it was, but it was one of the beautiful experiences.
Yeah.
We sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was surprised to connect to that being, and also Peter Knight he wrote a book, and I was trying to find it online, and a medium had drawn that spirit guide, and I couldn't find the book. I meant to buy the book, and I couldn't find the book online, or etc. But he has been drawn and picked up by other people. So it is in one of Peter Knight's books, and Peter Knight does some amazing work in and around Avebury in the area.
He drums in there as well, doesn't he? With
Yes, he does. Yeah,
his
he does
partner,
does
yes.
drumming. I've never had a chance to meet him in person or go to one of his events, but I will do eventually, hopefully.
No, it's fantastic. Thank you. It was a brilliant presentation. Thank you so much,
Oh,
darling.
thank you.
I agree. Brilliant presentation. I do have a question, but Shara, have you got a question? I'm going to hand over to Shara and then
Thank you. Thank you, Dawn. Yes. Oh my goodness, Tracy, I enjoyed this so much.
Oh,
Good
thank you.
job. It was beautiful. And it just makes me want to go now to all these places. I want to join one of your groups and travel around to all these places. I feel like I've come late to the party too. This was many years ago. I went with my daughter and we did go to Stonehenge. But like you said, we couldn't get in, which to me felt disappointing. And I wondered if you had an idea about this. There was like a whole murmuration of black birds. I don't know what kind of bird, and they would land on top of stones and then they would go off and then they would land. And I was just fascinated by this. I thought it's an energy, something that the birds are picking up, but I wondered if you had any comment on that.
No, like I say, the picture that I took of the jackdaw, the part of the crow family in Avebury, came after I was on Stonehenge. But when I was actually on Stonehenge, that's the first thing that I noticed was the crows, and the crows are very evident there. I believe since then there was something that I don't know whether they've done it, but they were netting around the stones to keep the crows off certain things. I don't know whether that's happened or not. But yeah, I think for me, I look for now for crows and jackdaws and things like that. They tell me something.
So they're attracted to maybe to the energy, then they'd go
Yeah,
off and they come back again. Anyway, I found that very,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
just enjoyed it so much. It just makes me want to come there and visit all those
Oh,
places now. And maybe you
oh.
can be the guide.
Well, like I say, I'm no expert on any of this, Initially, I just tagged along, like with these things. So it was super exciting because it opened up a whole world for me. But like when I was visiting these places, I had no idea what I was doing. Not at all. So it's been a privilege really that I've been blessed with being able to say, not just to say I've experienced these things, but to actually present things that hopefully can show that things exist. Do you know what
Thank
I
you
mean?
very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll give Deborah my spot. She's got a hand up. Then it's me, Deborah.
Deborah's on mute.
Deborah, if you're talking, you are on mute. You want to unmute and ask your question? Okay, maybe it is my turn then.
Okay.
Tracy, I have, I've spent 30 years debunking old photos and things like that. I have this really interesting kind of dynamic of, because I've trained not only in the spiritual esoteric, but also in parapsychology as well. So I kind of have this real tension within me where I've experienced so many things and have evidence of that and still want to find the reality and the kind of the evidence of all of that, and I've kind of evolved into accepting that there are things that we can capture on our recording devices that do defy explanation and are potentially great evidence of different dimensional beings. I think it's always good to come with that skeptical view, but also with that accepting that things can be the reality. The most interesting, not that they were all interesting, but the one that really intrigued me was that ribbon within Stonehenge. I've seen lots of orbs and kind of rainbow type of lights, but that ribbon was very intriguing to me. I was trying to put my debunking head on when I was looking at that, and I just found that really fascinating. And one of the things that somebody told challenged my thinking with was maybe, maybe our cameras, maybe our sophisticated iPhones and other Android phones have been invented to allow us to capture those other dimensions, which really exists outside of our field of sight. So I thought that that was a nice reframe for me as I'm trying to reconcile this inner conflict within me. So thank you for sharing. I don't know,
Oh,
Deborah. Sorry, go on.
yeah, no, sorry, no. I just said, at the end of the day, I hope I've tried to explain that, this could be a lens flare, this could be light refraction, this could be this. What do you think? The crow. I can't explain why its face went all fuzzy when the rest of it was clear. The Stonehenge one, definitely, yeah. I've got a science degree, and my teaching degree's in maths, so I'm very left-brained, and I didn't believe in any of this, at all when I started ever. None of this existed. So yeah, so I do try to look at things, and I do try to say, could it be this? Could it be that? Orbs, yeah, you could say it's dust, So, but yeah, so I do try to be a bit skeptical, but yeah.
I appreciated that from your presentation, and and I think the other thing that I've learned is at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what I think, it's what somebody else thinks about what they have and what that means to them. That is the most important, really. So, no, it was a great presentation. Thank you. Deborah, I see that you've unmuted. Floor's yours for a question.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, indeedy.
Oh, wonderful. Well, Tracy, thank you so much for a wonderful presentation. And I am right now in Tim Walter's class, his house healing class. And my question for you is, I see that you have a lots of Reiki background, and I do too. And I was wondering how you are, and if you do, you kind of combine all your Reiki knowledge in with your house healing. So it's very interesting how that all builds on each other. And I was just curious about your experience with that.
Yes, I do. Absolutely, because I'm trained. I've been trained by the best people in the business in this area. I do two forms of Reiki. That doesn't matter because Reiki is just Reiki. And yeah, I combine the Reiki. Because when you've got the symbols, I mean, you've been attuned to Reiki, it's within you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And that healing can happen in an instant. So yes, I combine that with the house healing, and what has ramped it up as well as doing the house healing with Tim is also the Raymond Grace method. I was talking about this the last Zoom that we did. Raymond Grace has really ramped everything up as well. I suppose I've really connected with it now, so I'm really clearing and shifting stuff for other people. I've started getting my own clients now, and people are coming to me with various things, but I've also shifted a lot of stuff for me as well. So I've used that combination of my Reiki, my house healing, which I go through all the protocols and everything like that. And then I add bits of Raymond Grace's methods as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions or tracing?
Oh,
Joe?
I don't.
Oh, yeah. Is it?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to say, because I think I'm finding Stonehenge quite interesting, because maybe there is a sort of etheric architecture remaining there.
Yeah.
And I went there a couple of years ago, and you can still, if you go about 6:30 in the morning, yeah, it's expensive. It was about, oh God, 50, 60 quid. But you can go, and there was 30 people there, and you can't touch the stones, but you can go in them. And I was like, oh gosh, everyone says the energy's dead there, blah, blah, blah. And actually, I was really blown away. It felt really refined, I really like just apps fragile, but well, not fragile, but absolutely amazing.
Mm.
And yeah, and yeah, I think it's I just think it's really important to know that it felt really worth going. It felt like a pilgrimage, like it is a pilgrimage, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really interesting that you got that image there. It's yeah, because do you know where you were in relation to the whole circle?
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle.
Near the altar stone, I think we were.
Okay.
Yeah, right in the middle. Obviously, that's the first and only time that I've ever been on Stonehenge,
Hmm.
actually on the circle. I was, they had all the crystal skulls and everything, and we were doing ceremony. So while we were doing in the quarters, so interestingly, one person did, Melanie will know this, did the pagan druid style quarters, and then one of the guys did the South American ones, which was slightly different, but it started with slightly different cardinal points. So at the time that picture was taken, we were in the middle of either opening or closing the cardinal points. So we'd done we were I think we were doing the cardinal points at the time that I took that picture, which probably was a bit rude of me to take that picture at that particular time, but I was just like, ooh, like super excited. So yeah, and that's when that picture, so it was taken in the middle. So the picture with the guy looks like he's looking at it as we were turning round during the cardinal points. So yeah.
Wow, really interesting. Thank you.
Well, Tracy, I've got one or two things I can say. All positive, no questions. The camera, iPhone. Were you using an iPhone or similar?
No, I can't afford an iPhone.
Well, I
No,
can.
I work in education. I've got loads of kids that have all these fancy iPhones and all the rest of it. No iPhone. I don't
I
even know
know I've
what
been
phone it was.
I've been watching the news down here in Essex, and they were talking about the Northern Lights meant to be coming into our area.
Yeah.
So I go out in the back garden thinking, oh, I'm going to see all this wonderful stuff. Not a thing. So then, for some reason, I took my phone out and then happened to look through the lens on my camera, and I was getting reds and greens, and all sorts of fantastic. You can't see it with the human eye, but as soon as I picked up my camera over there,
Yeah, apparently that's the thing with the Northern Lights. I read somewhere years ago that these fantastic pictures they take of the Northern Lights are taken with a camera and with camera equipment, and that you can't necessarily see it with the naked eye because we only see so much of the spectrum. Our eyes only see so much of the spectrum. So, and that's why it gets picked up with cameras.
quite fantastic, really. But also with you talking about spirits on a higher frequency, because I actually done through meditation. I got taken to meet my spirit guide. Interesting. So I done a bit of that. My eldest daughter sees orbs. I don't see a thing. She picks up on all of that stuff, but she will blank all of what I do because she's quite the scientist. She's a mathematician, and I'm not. When I done my healing courses with Adrian, he picked up on there was somebody died in our house, and that could have been potentially a murder. And a little old lady got pushed down the stairs. And it's funny because we've had a number of illnesses go through our house with different things that have gone on. And then obviously I've done this course. I found out all about different things that can happen to people. And I think it was about a week before we were off on holiday, me and the wife, and she fell up. She quickly decided to do a bit of hoovering around the house and just happened to trip over the wire out of the hoover. And she literally fell down, smashed her face on the threshold between, say, the bottom of our stairs and our dining room, and broke her wrist. I think she probably broke both of them where she landed, smashed her face in. But this is exactly where this woman would have landed.
Oh gosh.
I have actually healed the house, so all is well now. I've done work with a client who had actually lived in a number of different houses in this particular visit, this particular village, and she'd worked with the Ouija board. She didn't say much about it, but it turned out she did. And I think it was when she was a teenager. And I found attachments to her auric field that she'd had for more than 30 years. There was another one where this couple had bought a house just around the corner from us. And as her and her husband told me about it, as they entered the house, it was a little old cottage. You walked in the front door and you were in their front room. And then you passed the stairs before getting into their dining room. And as she passed the stairs, nobody else in the house, but there was a coat hanger come flying downstairs, hit her on the head. So obviously that got her interested. And when you spoke about having a spirit go through you, I've had that experience. That's quite freaky.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of what you say, I can sort of agree with. That's happened to me. Similar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you very much. Very good.
Oh, thank you.
Any
I'm glad it's all right. It's all right. I spent hours. I can't tell you how long I spent on this presentation. More because I'm used to when I was teaching, I just used to bang off presentations like nobody's business, and then just like me. But we're doing it on Zoom. It's been very different. So thank you very much for all your comments,
This is
and
weird.
yeah, and thank you for being present and for your questions, and I'm glad that it makes sense to people, and because when you do these things it makes sense to me, but then I think to myself, does it make sense to other people when I'm presenting? So but I'm glad I've done it now.
It was amazing. Thank you. I'm conscious of time, so going to release everybody. But thank you again for stepping up and stepping in. It was a fantastic experience. So loved hearing all of your wonderful stories and experiences. Recording will be available in the next day or two. I'll send it out, and I'll send those 2 links along with it that Tracy talked about. Next month is our open Q&A, so come with questions, thoughts, comments, curiosities, updates, you name it. We'll have a good old chat.
Okay, thank you very much.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Tracy. Bye. Take care.
Bye.